Hi there, we're going to take a look at EX09, exercise 9, and what seems to be fairly straightforward at first, as you can probably imagine, is going to be a lot more difficult than you think. And when I see something like this, which appears to have 1, 2, 3, 4 teeth per quadrant for a total of 16, it seems like you could make this by maybe making construction lines that go out and, join these. But the problem is it looks like these radial lines aren't actually radial. It appears to me that if you have a dimension of 10 like this, if they were radial, there would be an angle here. In other words, radial means that these lines are pointing back towards the center of the circle. I don't think that's the case. And so we're going to have to go about this a different way. Also, these ends here that look flat, I don't think they're flat. Why do I not think that? Well, look at this dimension here, diameter of 90. Okay, that implies a circle. And this diameter of 78 also implies a circle. So if you take small segments of a circle, sometimes they can appear to actually be flat lines. Take the Earth, for instance. We think of the ground as being flat, but it's just because the diameter of the Earth is very, very large for any particular linear dimension along the ground that we want to look at. So I think what we're really looking at is 3 concentric circles, this 50, a 78, and a 90, and then a couple of lines that are spaced 10 apart and symmetric from one another, maybe say over here, and then a circular pattern to get the rest. So let's see if that works. All right, so I do notice it looks like we're going to be doing our sketch on the front plane. So I started up my EX09 document, and I'm going to right click and make a sketch on the front plane. Also remember that this is going to be in millimeters. All these are. I'm going to hit N to look normal, P to get rid of the plane line, or the planes, hide the planes, whoa. And again, let's go back and double check. So I've got a 50, and I think we could probably do a construction line for the 78 and the 90s, but maybe let's check that out. So I'm going to start with a 50. I'm going to click out, type 50, and then I'm going to change it to construction for the 78 and the 90. Whoops. I had to go out a little further, but it's all good. Now I'm going to hit escape, and I'm going to drag these all out so I can see them. Something like that. Okay, now I am going to make a construction line that starts in the center and goes horizontally outward. And the reason for that is I need to make I need to get some of these. Well, you know what? Actually, I think this line would be better as a regular line. And the reason I think that is so I don't actually have to trim those out. And yeah, actually, I think I'm going to do that for both of these. I'm going to make them all non-construction lines. And I think you'll see what I'm talking about here in a second. So what I need is I need 2 lines. I'm going to zoom in those. I need 2 lines that are horizontal that connect here to here. And let's do it again, here to here. And I need it to be horizontal, so I've got that horizontal constraint showing up. And there we go. Now, I'm going to make them symmetric to one another. And then I'm going to put in that dimension of 10. And let's put it down here. And there you go. Okay, now what I'm going to do is, I think what we want to do is maybe trim off these parts here. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude this as 2 different extrudes. I'm going to extrude this ring here, and then I'm going to extrude this part. And the reason for that is then I can do a circular pattern with a feature of that second extrude. So let's see. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I think you will. So let's accept the sketch, go into an isometric view, and do the first extrude. So there it is. Oops, I forgot to check and see how thick. Looks like this part is 10 millimeters thick. I'll change 25 to 10, and we'll have that. Now, of course, it hid the sketch. So we're going to unhide the sketch again, and we're going to do a second extrude. And we're going to do this one, also 10. And you notice it says add, which is fine. And we're going to get that. Okay, now it's time to make that circular pattern. So I'm going to go into here and get my circular pattern. I'm going to change it to feature pattern. And the feature I want to pattern is extrude 2. What's going to be the axis? Well, any of these circles will define the axis. And you notice it's giving me nasty things. I think you fix that by hitting reapply features. Okay, now if you notice there's 4 of them, but we really need 16 of them. Oh my gosh, that looks amazing. So let's accept that. And there you go. Now that, the creation of it wasn't the hard part. It was the concept of how we were going to create it. And I'm going to look at it from the front, and I want you to see that you see how these parts really do almost appear to be flat. Okay. Now, I don't know, this drawing does look kind of flat. However, how could it possibly be a diameter of 90 if they're flat? Like, what part is at the 90? Because this is a flat line. The corners are going to be, they're going to be at a further distance than the centers, for instance. I don't know. I would say that this one might be a little underdefined. I think you could make a case for flattening those. Okay, you could go back to your original sketch, and if you were to do it in a different way, not the extrude, the sketch, you could hide your part, go back, and you could make a straight line that connects this, okay? And then these points would be at that point. And it kind of actually looks like that to me. Now, I've already done what we need to do, but I'm just going to show you how we could do this, and it really wouldn't affect things that much. I'm going to go into this sketch here, and I'm going to go in to edit it. I'm going to actually delete. I don't know if this is going to work, because well, let's see. Let's just try it and see. If I trim this. No, okay. Yeah, see, these points are now. Okay, so I think what I would have had to do is go back to having that that circle that was actually a construction line. Here, let's click on construction line, and we'll make it 90. Okay, and then these points that I would have had here, I'm gonna have to recreate the coincident that they would have had. Okay. And then what I would do is just get the line tool and connect the lines. That's how I think you could justify making it, like flat like that. And then if we finish and go back out and unhide the part, you see they're flat now, right? We just changed the sketch. I actually think that kind of matches the drawing a little better, but boy, I would say that's not my favorite drawing I've ever seen. And part of the reason it's not my favorite drawing I've ever seen is because I would want them to actually, in this drawing, when you did your drawing, you had a construction line that showed that the points and the corners were at 90, but not the rest of it. So if you made it either way, I would accept that as okay. But I don't know, it's hard to tell. It's quite hard to tell. Though it's funny, when I look at the shading on this face in particular, it looks like there's a slight gradient, which to me would indicate that maybe it is slightly curved. However, either way is acceptable. All right, so hopefully that helped you. and we can then reconvene and do another one. Thank you.